As a conclusion to our optics unit, we're going to dissect a cow's eye. Here's the eye. Notice the end is more of the meat and fat section, and the cornea is at the top, right here. We're going to remove this section by making a small incision and releasing some of the fluid that builds up behind the cornea. This is one of the two humor sections. To remove the cornea, place the scalpel in the side of the cornea like so. Once you've made the incision, you can just follow the cut around the eye until you completely remove the cornea. Be careful as you're going around not to scratch the lens underneath. You should also notice that the cornea is much more hard than, say, a human eye's cornea, which looks like a light lens. Here you can see the iris start to appear, as well as the hard lens that focuses the light onto our eye. It's also what allows us to see images both close to us and far away. Now that we've cut away the cornea, we can see three major sections of the eye. What do you think they are? If you said cornea, iris, and lens, you're correct. The cornea has been cut away. You can see the remains on the dissecting tray. The rest that's left is the lens in the center, which allows light to pass through, and the darker iris that can contract to let less or more light in.
The cornea.
Now that we understand some of the major outer portions of the eye, it's time to take a deeper look inside of the eye and see what parts of the biology relate to our optics unit.
So,
to do this, we're going to need a slice directly down the center of the bulb and split the eye into two halves.
We want to cut right down the middle of the bulb. You remember, a lot of this stuff is just fatty tissue, right? So we want to look
in the
at
back. You can see all the fatty area.
And we
the
want
bulb
to cut
part
portion.
can be found in the front.
And be careful not to,
it's within the first 3 to 4 centimeters.
The humor is also a liquid. Okay.
Be careful as you're cutting, because you will be cutting into another humor. It will be more jelly liquid.
What do we do with this thing?
All right, you took out you weren't supposed to, but what do you think you?
You also don't want the lens popping out of the front. You may want to secure your thumb in front of the cornea area. As you're cutting, you'll notice that this is not as fluid as the aqueous humor.
Cut very carefully,
the vitreous humor
folks,
is more of a jelly-like substance. Be careful as you separate the two parts. You don't want to rip the retina off the back of the eye.
Like this. Like this. Like this. Like this. Can you see that? Like. Okay? If you're not sure, you could come up
by sticking your fingers inside and separating the vitreous humor. It'll help ensure that you protect the retina.
Remember, if there's multiple people that want to cut, make sure you're sharing the joy.
Let's take a look at what we see so far.
We cut along like the
right here.
Line and, okay.
Okay. Just right here. Say I'm cutting.
Inside,
right
you can already
here.
start to see the jelly-like substance.
Just like that.
There,
okay?
the lens.
Cut right down the center, just like this. Okay, right along the bulb.
All right.
Okay.
And I've made my incision around the side, and I'll just finish it up now.
Yeah.
Today,
Uh-huh.
if I may take a few pictures in my book.
The first thing you're going to notice.
Now that we've removed the the top
The
half
first
of
thing
the
you're
eye,
going
we
to
can
notice is
start to
that
see
there's a
inside.
little white
The
layer.
white film
I
that
want
you're
you to think
seeing we
about what that
separate
white
is
layer
the
might
retina,
be, okay? Try not to
slowly peeling off the
destroy
back of
things
the
as
eye.
you're opening them up. Raise your hand.
Here we can see an eye where the retina is still attached. You see a bluish portion in the back. See veins running through it. It can peel right off. And remember that this is where the rods and cones are, the cells that detect both color and black and white.
Foil, right? So what it does is it reflects the light back. When do we see this reflection? You see it all the time and you hate it. And for us,
Remember also, this is the retina. It's kind of bunched up against the blue portion, the sclera. That this is where our image is projected onto the eye. The pupil is a lack of something. You notice it's just a hole, right? There's nothing there. So it kind of represents the same thing as the candle and the little hole in the cardboard. And we saw that the candle's flame was flipped over. The image onto the retina will do the same thing as it passes through the lens. You can also see the sclera here. It's a bright blue area. As light hits it, it's going to reflect the light back. We have something very similar to this, but the effect that we see is red. Obviously, in many pictures, it's the red eye, quote unquote, that we so amply try to avoid. Here I'm removing the retina, and you see that it's all bunched together there. This is actually the point at which the nerves from our brain enter the eye. This area is called the blind spot, and it is the nervous cord that goes to our brain. The blind spot obviously goes to the optic nerve to the brain. In the center of the top part, we see the back end of the eye. We have the lens, the iris, and the cornea, of course. I'm emptying out some of the vitreous humor that is covering this in order to extract the lens. You can actually use this lens to magnify items. If you hold it up to a newspaper print or something, the image will appear bigger than it is. Notice that the lens is really attached to the iris and the other portions. There's actually muscles that stretch out this lens so that we can see, as well as the iris is connected closely with the lens so that it can keep the light out in very bright environments and let more in dark environments. There's many eye diseases that also relate to the lens. If you're thinking about an eye disease, cataracts, it's when hard deposits end up in this lens. If they're there, the light can't pass through as easily through this translucent piece, and therefore it blocks up your vision. In the back of the eye remains that we have, you can still also see this optic nerve. So if we chop away the excess, we should be able to isolate it. In this lesson, we learned two important lessons. This concludes our dissection. I hope you enjoyed.